And welcome back. Okay, well, we have something which looks familiar here now, the Messerschmitt 109E. Let's just pop into our layers manager to begin with. Now we have rig here, and we've got our control curve Messerschmitt there. Actually, I want that hidden for this, and we can see that the rig layer is our active layer at the moment. Well, we're not going to be creating any more geometry, or at least not just yet anyway, but I'm going to actually make the default layer the active layer. So let's tick that one instead. Okay, well, now we can close our layer manager. Well, before we start applying UV maps to our model Messerschmitt, I'd like to know what a Messerschmitt looks like in its camouflage colors. I'd also like to know what kind of insignia was attached to the aircraft. Now, I did a little bit of digging the other day, and I actually came across this website. Let me just pop here and make a note of the URL, because as we can see here, everything you want to know about a Messerschmitt BF 109E, as far as the camouflage, the insignia, and what everything meant, you can find here. Let's just have a quick look. Open that up. So it's there, showing us precisely what the camouflage was like. And also the insignia. Let's just open this up. So it's showing us various types of insignia and who it was related to. So the group chief of staff, that's what he'd be having. So invaluable resource material is this. I was quite surprised when I found it. I'm quite happy. Doesn't take a lot to make me happy actually these days. Okay, well, there you go. That's the URL. Well, let's just have a look at some of the insignia down here. Pop down. Comes out quite big, does this. Let's just bring this down to about 50%. And there we go. So, some of the insignia. Exhaustive list of wing, group and squadron insignia. Right, well, there you go. Let's put that back to 100. Well, let's get back to this. Now, I will admit that I've given this topic and this subject quite a bit of thought as to how I'm actually going to approach it and deliver it in a way that, well, quite frankly, isn't going to get you confused. And to also explore the many different ways in which we can apply our materials to our geometry, as well as applying UVW maps. So let's start off with something relatively simple and which continues on from what we've already learned. So we're going to apply some materials to our prop blades. Okay, well, what we need to do now then is pop into our layers manager. I'm going to hide the tail section, the fuselage, front wing, cockpit. Let's pop into the propeller section. We'll just hide the nose cone for a bit, the prop housing. All we've got is the propeller blades left. Let's close that down and go F for our front viewport, and then let's zoom back a little bit. We can now press M on our keyboard to call up our material editor. Now, I did start removing some of this reference material here, but I did leave two so that you could see how we do it. Okay, I'm going to select that swatch there, and let's just delete that. Yes, or reset it. Reset that one. Say yes. and we'll select this swatch here. Now you'll notice that it does keep the name of the reference material that we had before. We can just get rid of that. I'm going to call this prop blade to begin with. Press return. So now it has a new name. Okay, well, let's open up our swatch to begin with, and now I'm popping down here to standard, left click on that. Let's close this section down. We're in materials, standard, and what I'm looking for is multi sub object. Double click with the left mouse key. We will discard the old material, and we need two colors on this one because the blades are actually black but the tips are yellow. So set numbers, say 2 on that, press OK. Now we've got number 1, so what I'm going to do is pop into this material selection here. We've come into our standard setup for our basic parameters. In diffuse, left click, I'm going to push this right up to the black, say OK. Now in this instance I want the specular level raised, so let's just raise that a little bit. I don't want it looking too shiny, so that's about right, so we'll leave the glossiness as it is. Now let's pop back up to our parent section and we'll call this prop blade. Press return. Now onto number 2, let's left click there, into diffuse again, and this time I'm looking at a yellow, but not a bright yellow, something that looks musty or a mustard colour, something like that. Let's say OK. Again, we can look at the specular level. Now it doesn't have to be too shiny, maybe something like that. We'll leave the glossiness as it is, and let's pop back up to our parent section. You know, those colours don't look too bad actually. So let's now give this a name, and we'll say prop tip. Press return. And now we can pop up, grab our material and apply it to the prop. Let's now close this down, and we're going to select the propeller, pop into our modify panel. Polygon's already selected, but what I want to do is just check that ignore back facing is unchecked. Let's deselect those polys there, so just click away from the geometry. Now let's pop down to this section here. Now at the moment this propeller has an ID value of 1, so what we need to start doing is selecting those sections of this prop that we want to have an ID value of 2, which is going to be the tips of each prop. Okay, so we're in poly. Let's select that one there. I'm going to press shift to get it to loop around. Now I'm going to miss out 2 sections there. Pressing control, select that one, press shift to loop it round. I'm just going to do this for a few more. Control, go to the one to the side of it, press shift, control shift, control shift, control shift, and then control. I'm just going to grab that lot there. Let's zoom out now, find the next section, which is down there, and again pressing control, then shift to loop it. Let's miss out 2 here, press control shift, control shift, control shift, and then that gives us an area which to safely select these around here. Let's pull out onto the next one, zoom in, press Control, now Shift and select the one next to it. Let's miss out 2, Control, Shift, Control, Shift, and so on. Maybe another one, and then I can get my select tool in there, and there, there, and there. Now let's set the ID to 2 and press enter. Prop tip. Okay, let's zoom out now. And deselect, pop up to render, just check that, single, yep, and let's render. There we go, we have our prop with yellow tips. Okay, now we might start having a problem with the background of this being black. So whilst it's here, I'm just going to pop into the environment and effects dialog, select that, background, colour, and let's make it a sort of palish blue. Okay, press OK, close that down, and let's do another quick render. There, we can start to see things a little bit better now. Okay, so let's now close this down and close that down. Incidentally, how we change the background then. What we do is pop into rendering, environment, background color, and there we can change it. So now we can close that down also. Well, mindful of the time, we'll continue this in the next session. I'll catch you later.